All right.
All right, we're recording. Welcome everyone to the Rink Rat Report Podcast. Recording this one Tuesday, November 14th. The Leafs have taken Sweden, and they also took the two games that they played this past weekend against Canadian teams. As always, joined by my co-host Jason.
Yeah. Good week, I guess. It's so weird when there's only two games. I don't know. Definitely feels like a better spot to leave off than we were last week. The Leafs have this magic thing about them where they want to, for some reason, they choose to do this thing where they play really poorly. And then like whenever they have like a long stretch incoming or like a break, it's like, okay, we know we have to play well because if we don't, we're going to hear about it for the next week. So the Leafs having a week off, it's like almost an extra or 6 days, whatever it is, extra motivation for them to play super well in those last two games because, hey, if they don't, they're going to have to be hearing about it for an entire week, which is not fun. So good stuff.
I guess that's a point. I don't know. I've actually never noticed that. Did they have a break where they were on a heater? Remember, in like December last year? Can't quite remember.
Was that 2 years ago?
No, last year they went on a complete heater. They lost like one game, and it was in overtime over a span of 10. They were decimating everything. They won the November Cup, as a lot of people on Leafs Twitter are coining it, because the Leafs seem to show up and destroy November every single year. So that's what they play for, the November Cup. And speaking of the November Cup, you know what team is playing really well for the November Cup right now? Kyle Dubas's Pittsburgh Penguins. This guy builds his team for November, baby.
Love it. Love it. I thought you were going to segue into like a cup into
no cup of what?
Into an ad, but
no.
That makes sense though. That makes sense.
I guess you could for Manscaped. I don't know.
Yeah.
Before we go on, I have to my friends wanted me to give a shout out to them. I was in Penn State this weekend cheering on the boys in maize and blue. That's a hell of a college town, Penn State. The best is when like you order a round of drinks, like 5 drinks, and they say $21 as opposed to Toronto, where it's like one drink is $21. Literally at the Leafs game, including conversion rate, I think I bought a beer that was the same price and amount of money. Now, obviously at sporting events, it's going to be more expensive there, but one beer was the cost of a round of drinks at Penn State. So shout out to the MM crew. They were telling me to give them that. Anchor Bar also, for that place for wings. Oh my God. I've never been there before. That place is terrific.
Sounds like a great time. College towns are always good. The $21 for the drinks, yeah, it's a little cheaper, but you're not factoring in the conversion rate of Monopoly money to real money. So
no, even then, the drink at the Leafs game is like $400 plus your firstborn kid.
It's insane.
So
yeah, yeah.
Anyways, so we're going to talk a little bit about the two games that we saw this weekend from against Calgary and Vancouver. Yes. We're going to talk a little bit about the first 15 this year compared to the first 15 last year. I should have included the year before as well, but I didn't, so who cares? And then a little bit about the Sweden trip and some trade rumors that came out. Crazy trade. I've never seen trade rumors
this early.
Like,
it's great.
Not even that. The way that they came out was just so obscure. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you guys about our friends at Manscaped. It's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's a ball trimmer sent from space. Gentlemen, our friends over at Manscaped have been working night and day to bring you a below-the-waist grooming experience like none other with their brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. We're talking about a next-generation trimmer with interchangeable blade heads for whatever shave your mind can imagine. Upgrade your grooming game to the Ultrasphere this year by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code RINKRAT. That is RINKRAT. High tech for low places, Manscaped. And guys, we've been talking about Manscaped now for like years, like multiple years now. It's great stuff. I have not heard one complaint about it, and check it out. It's some high quality stuff. So let's get into it. Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. Everyone needs a grooming tool. And I mean, I can't remember the last time I bought a grooming tool before I had Manscaped, but it was like a long time. And I definitely should have gotten a new one way before I actually did. So if you have to think about when the last time you bought a grooming tool was, it's probably a sign to go to
Why'd you need a tetanus shot one day after?
Maybe, honestly, it's crazy, but
going off down there. You're not going to need that anymore. Manscaped.com, promo code RinkRat as RINKRAT. Let's get into it this past weekend. The way that I watched the Calgary game was actually kind of funny. I was in a car and they were playing pretty well, going up 4-1. Everything's looking great, right? And then someone has to say 4-1 is the most dangerous lead in hockey. Since we're driving through Pennsylvania, those mountains, those windy roads, there's 1,000 deer dead at the side of the road there. Leafs go, it's 4-2. Nikita Zadorov scores. Then the internet stops working. And then I get to a gas station finally, and there's some Wi-Fi, and I see 4-3. Now it's 4-4. But they held on. They started to play pretty well once it was 4-4. I will say that.
Yeah, they crushed
Mitch Marner came up
4-4.
as close as clutch could be in that shootout too. And then Max Domi finishing it off, which we'll talk a little bit about him and some of his line mates in a sec. And then the Vancouver game, I want to get your opinion on that. The fighting after the hits. Can you tell me what are your thoughts on that? Because I think, did they score on the 2 power plays after those instigators, or
I'm like 99% sure.
I'm on the power play, but
yeah,
one
no,
of them was for sure.
They scored on both of those for sure. Like I'm looking at it right now, they 100% scored on both of those. One of them was like almost immediately after the penalty itself, and the other one, they both happened on the preceding power plays after both hits. But I mean, I kind of laughed at myself when I saw both of those fights, because I'm like, do they really not want to play with Ryan Reeves this badly that they'll fight their way to keep him out of the lineup? But no, actually though, like it's honestly an interesting thing, right? Because like, listen, obviously there's stupid penalties and like they should not be called, and I don't know, God knows why they're being called right now.
Why wasn't Connor Murphy? You remember against Chicago when Connor Murphy at the break went after Noah Gregor? He wasn't called for instigator there. I barely seen instigator called. Like what?
It's and twice in a game. It's like, come on, man. But I don't know. They seem to have called it. It definitely hurt us. But I think this is something that you can, like, I'm not afraid to do or afraid of this team doing in the season, because like, I don't know. It just shows like to me, it's like a good sign to the locker room. I think maybe I'm just thinking too hard about this, but just to know that someone's got your back, it's like a good feeling. I don't think that those hits were dirty. The Camp one was dirty. Camp one was dirty. Like it was a little high, but the Robertson one, we just kind of got hit hard. But like, hey, you know what? Like, fuck it, just go in on him. Like, why not? Right? Like Robertson is a different situation than Camp, because like Robertson's young, right? Like just showing you that you can't just push us around. And even though it was Max Domi, who's tiny, and they didn't even fight, they like grappled for like the entire time. I think they landed like 2 shots each. Like,
well, it's Max Domi, who's 5'9" versus Ian Cole, who's a pretty big man. And then
he's like,
also
Cole's like 5'11". No,
whoa, at least thick, at least. Really?
Yeah, he's a thick boy. They're short kings. I think they're both short kings that are thick boys.
He's 6'1", 225.
Oh, he's 6'1". Why?
I
guess he just looks short in like relation to the Tampa Bay defenseman, which is where I remember seeing him the most.
Oh yeah, that's true. But
because they're all 6'9", like monsters. But anyways, I
will say that Dakota Joshua is also like 6'4". That was a Leafs reject right there. He was drafted before Dubas. He was coming out of college. Dubas said no thanks. He traded him for a conditional 7th.
Crazy. Got that. I don't even think it turned out to be an actual pick, but whatever.
Probably not. But
I think he had to sign. But what were your thoughts on that little scuffle / fighting incident? Does it bother you that you got that they got penalties and they scored on them? Because if you think about it, it's like almost bad process to say like, oh, don't do this because you'll get a penalty and get scored on. Because like, what are the chances of them scoring on that power play? It's like 25, 30%.
Our penalty kill stinks.
Okay,
so
Yeah, but like, what are your thoughts on that in general, I guess?
So that's where like I'm so stuck because I loved it. Like just off first reaction, like hearing that there was two kind of high hits and there was two fights from it. I love that. You don't need one big boogeyman going around. Oh, those hits wouldn't have happened with Ryan Reeves. Okay, what about Timothy Liljegren? What happened after that? Nobody did anything, right? When you have guys that are not normally fighters, when you have a 40-year-old veteran, when you have Max Domi going after 6'1", 225 Ian Cole like that, like I think that sends a greater message. But if it wasn't on home ice, they wouldn't have been doing that, and they shouldn't have been doing that. But like the home ice advantage, that kind of plays into it. Sure, it's just, yeah, maybe don't do that later in the year when points are more valuable. If the penalty kill's not fixed, like that's the thing. Like the penalty kill's not great, but I loved sticking up for your teammate. Who cares? Oh, it was a clean hit. I don't care if it was borderline. I'd expect you to go after him like that. Right. So that's what I'm really stuck. You went down 2 goals as a result of those 2 fights. Yeah. Was that like, wouldn't the goals then have taken the wins out of the sails of the crowds there too?
Maybe,
like that's
but
where
also,
it's like,
yeah,
that's where it's like the shittiest situation where it's like, yeah, you need to stand up for your teammates, but then that's what happens when you do. So it's like, but I loved it. Honestly, 15 games in, why not? Like you've had some up and downs this year. It hasn't been the smoothest of sailings, especially for some of the new guys. Why not go out there and try to beat the hell out of it? Like Giordano landed some shots on Dakota Joshua. I really like to see that. So it's an interesting debate. I will say that for sure.
For me to put a ball on it, it's like this early in the season, this should be not happening every game, but anytime there's even something that you're like being like, was that clean? You just got to go at this point because like, even if you get injured doing it, like obviously I don't want like Matthews doing that, right? But like if you get injured doing it, like at the very least you're out, like you should be back in time, right? So
yeah, I don't buy those hits wouldn't have happened if Ryan Reeves was there. No, it would happen.
Already been debunked.
Ryan
That's
Reeves
already
would
been
still
debunked.
be on the bench. He was dash 2 against Calgary. He's dash 11 in 14 games. That is so inexcusable. And then your replacement puts up 2 assists and had a chance in there as well.
Let's talk about McMahon. Let's talk about McMahon this week because he like McMahon 4th line, 3rd line, like because it feels like that, like maybe clicks. Obviously, like anything without Ryan Reeves seems to click. But like, what are your thoughts on the play? Like we saw a 3-game sample of that 3rd line look good. We have a 5-game sample of it now. Like, what are your thoughts on the bottom?
On the 3rd line or the 4th line?
Bottom 6 in general, like split up by 3rd, 4th, whichever you want to talk about more.
Ryan Reeves shouldn't be back in the lineup for the foreseeable future. I think Bobby McMahon should have just bought himself 3 games there. I don't care that they're going on a special trip to Sweden. Who's the first game against? Detroit,
and then Chicago. I think. I might be completely wrong here, but no.
Minnesota, I believe.
Oh, it's Minnesota. You're right. No. It's Minnesota, and then Chicago is the first game back. That's why.
Yes. Okay. There you go. So, was I right? It was Detroit, Minnesota.
Detroit, Minnesota. Detroit on the Friday, Minnesota on the Sunday.
And to point out something, I tweeted it already, but there's 4 teams going: Ottawa, Minnesota, Detroit, and Toronto. Yes. Each of the other 3 teams, Detroit, Ottawa, Minnesota, one of those games counts as a home game. For Ottawa, 2 of those games count as a home game. And for the Leafs, Detroit plays on the Thursday, and then Detroit has to play on the Friday. So a back-to-back, and the Leafs get to be rested. The Leafs don't play on the Saturday, then they play on the Sunday. Minnesota plays on the Saturday, and then they have to play on the Sunday. So the Leafs get 2 games. They're the away team in both, so they don't get last change. But you do get the advantage of playing a team on the latter half of a back-to-back in both. How sweet is that?
That's amazing, which is also way bigger than home field in hockey is already pretty small. And I assume like a lot of that has to do with more crowd and like, there is no home field. It's a neutral. So like, there's almost no benefit to being the home team. Like, I don't think last change affects. But like, I mean, just like just looking at it from like a betting perspective, I don't think that like it would be treated at all any differently. I'm curious to actually see how much last change would be worth. But I mean,
can I playoffs more? It's the regular season, so it's like,
yeah,
whatever. You want to win the Avicii Cup, right?
But like we obviously know why that like the Leafs are not home at all, right? Like because and all those Senators have 2 home games here. Like we know, right? It's obvious. Do I have to say it? Do I have to say that only it's like 50% capacity at the Ottawa Senators games, even then they're like pretending that they're gonna make the playoffs this year. Like, listen, like we're gonna sell it regardless. They're not. So good. I'm happy. Maybe we get a little. Maybe we got a
scenario for NHL revenues.
Maybe we got a $50K bump to the cap as a result of this, but chances are we don't. But oh,
it is weird that they're going to Sweden mid-season though.
Yeah, I don't get that. Anyways, like it's just it's a headache for like just thinking about this.
8 a.m. puck Sunday. Don't forget that.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that because my ritual is usually to plant on the couch from 1 to midnight, and now. Yeah, I am, but I have a way to watch there. It's gonna be a fun day.
Or 5 a.m.
5 a.m. It's gonna be a great. I'm not gonna fall asleep. The festivities are gonna be insane. I'm not gonna fall asleep. Man. Anyways, I want to touch on the third
and fourth line. So the third line. So the fourth line, it looked much better against Vancouver. They generated a ton of chances. They got 2 goals, right? If I'm not correct on that. They had 2 goals there. They had a couple other chances on top of that as well. So that's a great first game. Hopefully we get to see that continually, right? The third line is super fast. They are really, really fast, and they're causing issues for opposing teams' defense to A, get to the puck first on retrievals, and B, break out the puck. I mean, we saw that play down low. Max Domi got to the puck. It was the Robertson goal. Great play by Nyes to start and get the puck in deep, fight off 2 Vancouver defensemen, allow the Leafs to get the change. Max Domi humming down low, able to free up the puck a couple times, and then ends up in front of the net, and Nick Robertson's able to finish. And then we saw in the Ottawa game, there was that as well. The Calle Yarncroc goal, I can't quite remember. I have it on my phone. I might have do you remember how that one went in?
Am I thinking of the Robertson one where he roofed it? Fuck.
No, that was a backhand against Vancouver. Anyways, I'll find it on the fly.
No, they've played great so far this year. I'm super happy that the third line has finally clicked. Just to like kind of cut you off there. I know you're getting into a point, but like just gonna like come out and say this now because like Max Domi is what 5'9"?
5'9", like 180, 190.
Max Domi's 5'9", 180, right? Nick Robertson is what 5'9", like honestly nowhere near. No, he's honestly like 5'8", 5'9", 170. Calle Yarncroc, what is he?
He's like 5'10",
190, right? All of those heights are generous. They're probably all shorter than that, but in all shapes and sizes, they're small, right? They're small in compared to other hockey players. But you know what? Like you said, they're fast. They're really good forecheckers too. Like that is like a sneaky, very, very aggressive and like hard on puck forechecking line. And it's like almost something that we've been saying for legitimately like almost like 6 years. As long as like we've kind of like, as long as we've become woke to like analytics and like how size doesn't. I don't know what the word is, but like that size doesn't matter, right? Like I've always been size doesn't matter if you know what I mean. But
no, explain.
It's a Manscaped joke. Let's just say that.
I will say this while I have that break in there. Max Domi last season, I believe, from what I remember doing research on him in the summer, was 7th in the league in away takeaways per 60. So like you do away takeaways because the Leafs count takeaways more than any other team in the league. It's ridiculous. So you do away so it gets rid of the scorer bias. Max Domi was 7th in the league in away takeaways per 60.
Yeah, and like it just shows that you don't need to have like a big, tall, physical line to be like they don't have to be all 6'3", 220 to be a good forechecking line. They can be small, they can be shifty, they can be quick, but they're still aggressive. Like even Nick Robertson, like he kind of is like I think he's like a ping pong ball is the best way to put it. That like he's kind of like high energy, like bounces around a lot, like gets rocked, but like will also like be aggressive, not like rock people, but he's not afraid to like fight for body
Sometimes
position.
that's to his detriment, but
yeah, unfortunately, because he gets hurt.
I found the Yarncroc goal. It was a disruption at the opposing team's blue line by, I can't tell who this is. It was a disruption at the Leafs' own blue line. It went back the other way. Robertson carried it in, stopped up, made a great pass to Calle Yarncroc, who was streaking in and got behind the defender on Calgary, and he was able to chip it by Vladar, who I'm not very impressed with him. He's not that good.
Yeah, you're gonna have to eat that one. But because I thought he'd be like maybe an ad for the Leafs in the offseason, but
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, the third line, really good forechecking line. We've seen like I think we've seen enough. We've seen a sample now that they're actually like a quality line, and they haven't. It's not like we've played poor competition over the last 5 games. Other than the Senators, we played they brought that line together against the Sabres first, right? Or was it the Bruins?
So they've been a point a game for the last 4 games, I want to say.
So I think they brought that line together. Okay, so Lightning, Senators, Flames, Canucks. Okay, maybe not the best competition, but still, I think there's been enough sample now to see like that this line works, 1, and 2, it's like it clicks. Like it's exciting to see, because like like maybe I'm not like in tune with like the Twitterverse as much anymore with Leafs Twitter during the football season, but like it feels like, man, if this line sticks, like 10 games from now, if this line is like still the same line, these guys are still getting third line minutes, what a great story Nick Robertson is for this team. Like what a great what a great story. Like it's almost like flying under the radar, like that, like this guy who's like essentially got jerked around for like 3 years by the team, that mixed with injuries,
major injuries,
very major injuries.
Didn't look that great at the end of camp. Let's get real.
An undersized player who was kind of counted out in his draft year too. Like no one like I want to say he was ranked higher than
a little bit. He was he started the year 0 points in 5 games, I remember, and then went on was a point a game pretty much, and finished a point a game. So excluding the first 5 games of the year, he was 5 points above a point a game kind of thing, right? Speedy guy, but again, it was like that concern about injuries. He's 5'9", 180. Can he take the punishment? Probably, as well as some other things here and there. But to get him low second round was a complete steal, in my opinion. It was a great waiver. I mean, when you look at other low second round picks that the Leafs have taken waivers on, can you guess who that is? I'm thinking of, not thinking of, but Jeremy Bracco.
Oh yeah.
Matthew Nyes was also a low second round pick.
I was gonna say Matthew Nyes, but wasn't. But
to go off your point with the third line, though, the depth has been so much better this week. Actually, in that depth getting better, I mean, you've kind of gotten some other guys slowing down, but that's okay. But the third line has gotten a goal a game for the past 5 games, right? So that's stupendous there. Tavares and Nylander are still humming away. And then now finally you have a fourth line that is an NHL level fourth line.
It's not getting created by one person. It's not getting created by one person. And it's crazy. The Leafs just want to fight their way out of that. Good for them. But the fourth line too, like I'm happy with Bobby McMahon as well. Like it makes sense why McMahon and Robertson were the first sent down this year, because obviously, was McMahon waiver eligible? I don't think he was, right?
Waivers. Yeah.
No, but was he was he exempt? Sorry.
Through camp. He was not exempt. That's where everyone said he's going to the Penguins.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It was like,
probably confuse him now. But I can see why they sent down Robertson, because he was waiver exempt. First guy to be brought up, makes sense. And good for McMahon for gritting through that injury in the preseason. So I'm happy with how this the bottom 6 looks. Like it's always a good story. That we're like, whenever we talk about if we're not talking about the bottom 6, it's good. If we're talking about them positively, it's very good, right? Mm-hmm. So it's good. Exactly. Good signs all around. Forward group feels hopefully solidified.
Feels better. Feels a lot better. But I will say, that like the Vancouver game, I mean, they got outshot. The power plays early against didn't help them, and I thought some of them were pretty weak. if I'm going to be honest. But
The penalties?
I guess that's the penalties against.
Yeah, well, we
They
had
might
5.
have missed a high stick against Miller, though. So
It's
maybe
6 penalties against in the first period and a half.
Yeah.
And then there was no penalties called for the rest of the game. Anyways, NHL officiating is going to make me rip my hair out. I don't even want it. I don't like to think about it or talk about it.
So they went off to Sweden on a better note.
Yes.
Jake McCabe was a welcomed add. I mean, -2 against Calgary, whatever, but against Vancouver was good. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Before we move on,
though, I just want to touch on one thing. You can, for those who don't know, if you look right below me, you can bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. That's right. You heard me. You can bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook right now. I'm going to open up my DraftKings Sportsbook and take a look at some, first of all, fantastic live odds right now. We're looking at some teams that you can go out and bet on for tomorrow's game. If you're listening to this in the morning on Wednesday, there's tons of odds available. We have the Philadelphia Flyers against the Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes -1.5, -105 against the Philadelphia Flyers here at home. Other fun games, we got the Colorado Avalanche against the Anaheim Ducks. Colorado -298 favorites. Ducks +240 dogs. Tons of odds, tons of great prices. So make sure you use DraftKings. And when you use DraftKings, use promo code THPN. You can download the app right now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That is code THPN, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023. All rights reserved here. Yeah.
Before we go on, one thing I want to close out the discussion with the third line. Since they've been put together, 33 minutes and 22 seconds together, expected goals for of 56.72%, which is pretty darn good. And their actual goals for 4 and their goals against 2.
It's good. That's
the analytics back up the eye test, baby. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. First 15 this year versus the first 15 last year. So I get off topic a lot, as people that have listened to the show may know a tad, I suppose. And so what started this kind of research little thing I was getting into was I was like, oh, the Leafs defense aren't shooting the puck as much this year as they were with previous year, last year, even the year before. I kind of thought, I was like, I haven't really seen many point shots recently. Like, just seems like, I don't know, some eye test little thing there. And I did find, to get into that one immediately, I did find that the Leafs defense this year, per 60 minutes, are getting 3.23 shots through per 60. Last year, through the entire year, it was 3.91. And through 15, it was 3.73. So that was one little thing there. And then it got me thinking, well, how do the Leafs compare through 15 this year versus through 15 last year? Because last year, again, same thing as this year, started a little bit slow and then picked it up. The Leafs, started up and down, kind of won some games they shouldn't have. How do we sit right now versus what we did last year? Right?
Mm-hmm.
8-5-2 right now versus 7-5-3 last year. So the record 1 point greater. All right, sure. Is there anything eye test wise that you think that stands out, Jason, from this year versus the beginning of last year?
Well, eye test, like not, it wasn't eye test until I looked at the sheet that you put together. And then it's like, wait, oh yeah, it does make more sense. The biggest thing I've noticed is that we're just playing more high event hockey in general, not like good high event hockey where it's like all attack, all attack, nothing coming back on us. No, like it's both ways. Oh, it's very much both ways. Like our Corsi 4, I want to try and do the per 60 numbers on this, but yeah, like the numbers you have pulled up here, it's just we have just been shooting so much more through the first 15 games compared to, was it last year through 15 games? So I mean, I feel like that was like an obvious one, maybe a cop out, but like that's just not something that's been registering with my brain over the last 15 games. But looking at the comparison, just using the numbers, what is it? We have 735 Corsi 4 and 728 Corsi against this year compared to 679 Corsi 4 and 621 Corsi against last year. And there's only an extra 20 minutes of ice time there. So, I mean, like we're almost at 50 to 60 Corsi 4 more than last year, and 100, unfortunately, Corsi against last year. I mean, obviously the percentages aren't great, but who knows? I'm curious to see what these numbers look like with and without Ryan Reeves. Maybe also kind of a cop out to blame it solely on him. But
one guy that plays 8 minutes a game, but again, minus 11.
It's crazy. It's just crazy. Listen, if you take out his like he hasn't been on for a goal and he's been on for 11 goals. Obviously horrible to say this, that if he's not playing, we're not going to score any goals, but the Leafs would be 33 and 23 goals for, goals against compared to 33 and 34. It's horrible. Like you can't just that's transitive property. Is that the word? Anyways, can't do that. It doesn't work like that. But I mean, I feel like we probably would have had a couple less goals for, but yeah, that's the biggest thing that stuck out to me is we're just essentially playing much more high event hockey.
To me, what stuck out, expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5 last year. So chances, so the quality of the shots you're getting, like essentially what expected goals is the sum of the chances from where they're being shot. How many goals would you expect to get on average using data points from a bazillion other shots before it? How many goals would you expect to get from having that amount of shots? So for the Leafs last year, expected goals for was 32.59. Expected goals against was 29.06. And that's in 708 minutes. This year, it's 31.6 expected goals for and 34.8 expected goals against, for an expected goals for percentage of 47.59. Now, does that tell you everything? No. There was a Vegas game in there. I remember Shalgren made like 18 saves on 22 shots. The expected goals on the public models was like 2 for him. But because there were so many breakaways in that game, the private model said it was like closer to 5 or 4. So that's where expected goals is a little bit flawed. But to have a differential in terms of your shot quality for versus your shot quality against of almost 5, actually 5, over 5% from last year to this year is pretty big. So that was a little ugly. I wasn't too happy about that.
And another, just going off your point here, it feels like we kind of made, there's been like there was a misconception about this Leafs team over the, like, not this season, but the previous two. No, honestly, let's go previous 3 seasons and almost when Sheldon Keefe became the head coach of this team, that this team, for some reason, we've always been told that this team is not good defensively. That's wrong. That's just flat out incorrect.
The last 2 seasons were very incorrect. Correct. Yes.
Leafs under Sheldon Keefe have always finished in the top 10 of expected goals against, the good side of that, like the least expected, top 10 least expected goals against in the league. So the biggest thing this year is that's kind of was our identity in the past, of maybe not outwardly facing identity, but internally we've been like a good offensive team with structure in the defensive zone, which is important. That's where we're kind of getting lost right now. Scoring and venue adjusted, the expected goals against for the Leafs right now, they have 35.35-ish, like you said here. That is 3rd worst in the NHL. The San Jose Sharks, the Columbus Blue Jackets are the two worst teams at 40 and 35 respectively. And then the third worst team is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, another team that's consistently in the top 10 of the league is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're fourth on the list. They're right behind us. So they're not the only team that's experiencing we're not the only team that's experiencing these kind of struggles early on in the season, where we're getting away from that identity we've established early on in our
the forwards
in
from previous years helped out a lot defensively as well. Before we move on, and one thing, I just saw an interesting tweet from John Shannon. Patrick Kane, who has been training in Oakville, Ontario, is beginning the process of meeting with teams. Hearing he met with the Toronto Maple Leafs today.
Oh, here's the thing. I like Patrick Kane. Where does he fit for us?
He doesn't.
Where does he fit? He does not.
I have no idea.
No disrespect to Patrick Kane, but maybe I get raked over the coals for saying this, but do you really want to break up that third line to bring in Patrick Kane, who's, mind you, even if he signs a league minimum, it's good. It's a prorated league minimum, so it's not going to be 750, 700. It's any contract he signs is going to be prorated, right? If you remember 2 years ago when Kane signed in Edmonton after being whatever his contract happened with San Jose, he made $2.95 million that year, or $2-ish million a year against the cap. His actual earnings were $700K or something like that. But it's a result of prorating because so many days in the season were accrued. So that's something you actually have to be wary of. And I think Patrick Kane took a misstep in his process by doing this, because you're essentially, every day you wait, you make it less likely that a good team will sign you because of the prorated cap hit. Unless you sign him to a multi-year deal, then you actually get a lot of benefit because you get extra.
That's what he's looking for, from what I've heard.
He wants a okay, wow, then that's a sneaky smart move then. Take away what I said. Kind of sneaky smart move, because if you can clear cap space now, you're going to get a major cap relief in the future, a la what William Nylander did. So,
but my question is, where does he fit, and who would have to be moved out if you bring him in?
Hear me out right now. Maybe. I don't know if this is the case, but what would we have to give to get a guy like, and this is Galaxy, right? To get a guy like Nikita Zadorov or Tanev? Would Nick Robertson be a guy that a team is interested in? Is that what's happening here, where we're showcasing Nick Robertson, trading him, and then hoping Patrick Kane can come in and fill that hole? Is that something that's a possibility?
Then you're ruining that third line.
I agree.
The third line's identity is speed. If you bring in Patrick Kane, you're going to ruin it. Also, Max Domi and Patrick Kane playing defense. We saw it in Chicago last year.
Those guys would, I feel like those guys would not work in the defensive zone.
Points, but
that's true. I mean, it's
I don't
so
see a
weird.
fit. I got like last year, just what he did with like your power play is like first in the league, so you don't need a boost on the power play there. Even your PP2 has 3 goals this year. That's ridiculous. Like, I understand who Patrick Kane is, Stanley Cup champion, terrific stick handler, but just where does he fit?
Yeah.
He's never been good defensively. Is he going to suddenly buy in defensively? Probably not. He just had hip surgery at 35? How's his foot speed going to look? Not great. Is he a good forechecker? No. He does a lot of other things. He's a great playmaker, can score as well, but I don't know. I don't know where he would fit. And the issue is with the Leafs, you bring him in, then you got to take another 10 games to figure out where he fits in the lineup, because there's no obvious fit.
Yeah.
Unless you put him with Matthews Marner, maybe, and then move Nyes down to second line, move Bertuzzi down to third line. But I don't know if they do that.
Maybe we're overthinking this, but I agree with you here. It just seems like
the thing is, we're complaining, you can never have too many good players, but it's like, is this still that good of a player?
Yeah.
How good is he, and how is he going to look after hip surgery at 35? You're going to sign him to a multi-year deal?
I think he's going to be like well worth it if you can get him at league min, for sure. Like, that's a no-brainer, I think. But again, like you said, like, it might just be like you're
going to bring in Patrick Kane to play for the 13th forward spot? Like,
Exactly. I think that's the problem is where he would play for us. I agree. I think he'd be good for other team. I don't think he'd fit with us. Before we get into more trade talk, though, I want to quickly give a shout out to our sponsors over at Raycon. It may be too early to start decorating for the holidays, but it's never too early to start your holiday shopping. Why not take care of it now before the crowd and packed calendars make shopping an absolute total nightmare, especially when you can get some of the best deals of the season well before Black Friday. You can shop Raycon products right now and save up to 50% off. Yes, you heard me right, up to 50% off, because the Raycon early Black Friday sale is going on right now. You heard me talk about Raycon products before. You heard me talk about the earbuds. You heard me talk about the water filter. There's tons of products on their website, and most of them, some of them, the entire website is up to 50% off, all the way down to 20% off here. Raycon first made a name for themselves in the audio space. Products like the everyday earbuds, known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features like a 32-hour battery life and a perfect in-ear fit for all-day wear and lasting comfort. And this past year, they expanded their entire business with the introduction of Raycon Home and Raycon PowerTech. Their 5-star reviewed Magic 180 cable allows you to charge iOS, micro USB, and Type-C devices 8 times faster with 100-watt power delivery. Their faucet filter ultra filters the water in the tap against chlorine and heavy metals. It's a must-have for ensuring the water you use to wash your face and brush your teeth is actually clean. Raycon is known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features at half the price of other premium tech brands. It is no wonder their products have wrapped up tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. To get everyone in the holiday shopping spirit a bit earlier, Raycon is currently offering 20% off of everything on their website, with some products going all the way up to 50% off. So beat the crowds. Save now. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on Raycon's early Black Friday sale. Hurry now to buyraycon.com/THPN to get 20 to 50% off site-wide. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score up to 50% off Raycon products. Buyraycon.com/THPN. Beautiful.
Right.
Let's get into trades. I guess we kind of
let's finish off the first 15.
Okay, sorry about that.
I wanted to bring this up. So the penalty kill last year, if you remember, it struggled to start the year. Like I remember it was lower, it was lower in the rankings for, I can't even find my stupid sheet anymore. Oh, here we are. It was lower in the rankings among the league, I don't know where. Okay. This year it's even worse. The thing is, where I'm more doubtful about the penalty kill this year than last year is that the personnel is just not as good. Noah Gregor's nowhere near as good as Pierre Engvall. They have Marner Kampf. Yeah. Kerfoot was a good penalty killer as well. The big one to me, though, Justin Hall. You're really missing Justin Hall. He played a big part of getting that huge ass and blocking shots. So that's where you're feeling it, we'll say. Go on.
Does
Andrew
the absence
more chances, a lot more chances against as well.
Does the absence of Jake McCabe, though, kind of slightly small affect that? Because who was it? Lagesson playing instead of him, right? Like on the penalty kill.
Benoit.
Right?
Well, Benoit or Lagesson, either one of those two.
So maybe that has a small impact. But I agree, though. Justin Hall, that's one part of his identity, was being a really good penalty killer for this team.
Yeah, he was a very good penalty killer. I mean, Giordano's out there blocking shots, but I think Justin Hall is really, really missed in that role. I'll read off some stats here. Expected goals against last year through 81 minutes on the penalty kill. Expected goals against were 7.89. This year it's 10.68. Goals against last year, actual goals, 11. This year, 14. So a lot more chances against, a few more goals against. I want to talk about the power play, though. Power play, the Leafs seem to be drawing a lot less power plays this year. Last year, they had 83.35 power play minutes at this time through 15 games. This year, only 70. But the power play has the same amount of goals, 13 goals for. And the most interesting part of this I found, last year, all 13 of your power play goals, I don't want to misspeak, Yes, 12 of your 13 power play goals were from Tavares, Matthews, and Nylander. None from Marner, actually, last year. And 1 goal from Alex Kerfoot last year. This year, you have... only 1 power play goal from Tavares, but 5 points, so that's okay. They have 10 goals. Nylander, Marner, Matthews, Tavares have 10 goals together. 4 from Nylander, 4 from Matthews. And then you got a nice little 3 goals from Riley and Bertuzzi there. So interesting to see PP2 chipping in there as well.
Yeah,
and pretty interesting.
Yeah. Also with I believe less time on ice in total as well. So like you said, less power play. So like, yeah, I mean that I know it sounds silly, but that speaks volumes when considering PP2 is like gets 30 seconds per power play, right? Like on like a good end, and they seem more comfortable playing it, and that's good because like, listen, in the regular season, let's get PP2 worked in a little bit more. Like let's give these guys a rest for a bit here. So yeah,
you can find other ways to do that, but yeah. And then the most shocking one, I don't know if you remember this. Oh, I gotta find it. Here we are. So who were the top 3 in points at 5-on-5 for the Leafs last year through 15 games? Do you remember?
Michael Bunting. Was it? No. Was it Kerfoot?
No.
I thought I'd get like a trick question there. It's got to be Matthews or Marner then, no?
Marner's number 1 at 10.
Okay. I should have went with the obvious one first. I like completely galaxy brained myself out of this one. So Marner, and then who?
I'll give you number 3, William Nylander.
Oh.
It's 6.
John Tavares then.
No.
2.
David Kampf.
David
Kampf had 7 5-on-5 points through 15 games. He was tied for first on the Leafs with 3 5-on-5 goals. He was tied with Marner and Tavares there. Yeah, how crazy was that? I remember that. And then
I remember that.
He scored 10 goals. The rest of it, like
7.
He didn't score very much. He went on like a 40-game goalless drought. There.
Oh yeah.
But this year, so last year you had Mitch Marner with 10, Kampf with 7, Nylander with 6, Tavares with 5, and then a whole bunch of guys with 4, including Austin Matthews. So Austin Matthews wasn't going to start the year really. You had Nylander and Tavares going okay, but at a pretty slow rate, I would say. Randomly, just a bunch of goals from David Kampf. This year, though, you have through 15 games at 5-on-5 in terms of points, 11 from Marner, 11 from Matthews, 9 from Nylander, 8 from Tavares. So the top 4 guys are humming a little bit more. Yeah, at 5-on-5 especially. And then you got 8 from Domi, 7 from Nyes, 7 from Callie Yarncroc, 6 from Morgan Riley, and then you got Robertson 4 and 4. So you got to mention that one as well. And then Bertuzzi, who's still getting her going a little bit there. Wait there. But look at how many more guys are actually putting up points at 5-on-5. So I thought that was a very, very interesting. And when you compare the top 9 this year compared to last year, this year right now it is Nyes, Matthews, Marner, and then it goes Bertuzzi, Tavares, Nylander, and then third line is Nick Robertson, Max Domi, Callie Yarncroc. Last year, you had Bunting, Matthews, Marner, which sure, great line. And then you had Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander, or Malgin at one point too, but that didn't.
That's crazy. I forgot about that.
Your third line was then David Kampf, Pierre Engvall, and Callie Yarncroc, who they were not doing very well at all together.
Not clicking.
Right. So that top 9 this year feels a lot better than what it was last year. So that's a positive. It's just your defense, you need McCabe to stay healthy. You need McCabe, Brody, and Riley to stay healthy because you saw what it was when they weren't. That was ugly. Unfortunately, Logren is out for a long term. But so when we finish off our comparison, and then last year also where you really did struggle, through 15 games, you had 7 or 8 starts from Erik Källgren. So, yeah, not not goalie number 1, we'll call him. So,
Yeah.
how many starts do you have? Yeah, 7 games played from Erik Källgren through 15 games. This year you have Samsonov and Wool. The little bit scary part is last year, Murray, Källgren, and Samsonov had played through 15. They had a combined 901 save percentage. This year, your combined save percentage through all situations is 892. And those are your 2 actual goalies. So they're in a rut. I think they will get themselves out of it. So bit worse goaltending overall, actually, from this year compared to last year. A lot better on the power play, a lot worse on the PK, a lot worse defensively.
Yeah.
Do we have a lot more goals though? I actually don't know why I didn't look at that part.
What do
We
you
have
mean?
a lot more goals this year.
This year?
8 more goals compared to last year at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
But 10 more against at 5-on-5.
Yes, that's the problem.
So,
But yeah,
still a lot to clean up.
Yeah.
I think we've found some things that work, some things that don't. You got some depth scoring. Now you just need to keep the pucks out of the net.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to put a bow on things there with that. Like goaltending stuff, I'm also not really too worried. Wow, got a great view there. Goaltending stuff, not too like worried about. Like I said last week, I'm buying the dip on these guys, buying them bouncing back. I'm buying that this is going to be like a low point for Samsonov on the season, or at the very least his floor. We've seen like, yeah, maybe our goaltending has been worse over 15 games compared to last year, but we've seen the floor of our other goalies who played for us last year. I don't think their floor is anywhere close to what these guys, Samsonov and Wall, bring to us. So I'm okay with that. And they're currently playing at their floor. And once they hit their like median, it'll work its way out here. We already touched on Patrick Kane. Let's maybe talk about it a bit more because we're getting pushback.
We are. Josh is saying,
I think it's a good point. I think
that where do you fit him in? And Josh is saying, bump Yarncroc to 4th line, bingo bango. Before this week, they had 0 secondary scoring. They could be in the same issues. In a month, I would rather sign Kane for free and allocate all assets to DA at the deadline. Even if he sucks, you can just scratch him. The issue is it's rumored that he's signing a multi-year deal. And then, as we mentioned, like you're really taking like Yarncroc versus Kane defensively. I mean,
like if you let's say you buried Ryan Reeves and you signed Patrick Kane instead. So that gives you that's like cost $200K on the cap.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd be signing Patrick Kane for I actually don't even think that's possible.
No.
I don't know. I would have to do the math. I don't know what prorated what a Patrick Kane contract would look right now.
I have no idea.
But that's the biggest issue is the prorating. I don't know.
I guess that could work. Would they do that? You see, move someone down from the third. So you'd be putting Patrick Kane on the 3rd line, or you put him on the 1st line. You move Nyes down to the 3rd line, and then Yarncroc to the 4th line, or Robertson to the 4th line there. I don't know. Where I'm hesitant mainly is that this group, especially from the forwards, is nowhere near as good defensively as what they were last year, right? And you're just adding more to it. That's where I'm like, that's where I'm thinking it doesn't work. But Patrick Kane could be a great offensive player.
Yeah, I think that's the point where we're missing the forest for the trees here. It's like you're getting essentially a guy who would fetch a team minimum a 2nd round pick at the deadline, especially for like the issue last year was his like massive contract, right? That was the biggest issue last year is that teams had to pay to like lower that. You're getting that for free. That's like the important thing here.
So I guess if it's 1 year at a manageable cap, sure.
Yeah. I'm also okay like multi-year at a manageable cap. So
multi-year at a manageable cap.
Because again, like you have to remember that the amount that you pay the extra prorated money you're paying them this year towards the cap ends up being cap relief over the next couple of years. It may only be like 100K, still cap relief, still would bring the cap hit down in future years, which is honestly kind of cool because like because he's old, right? So it's like it's a very rare scenario where you get a guy aging who's already signed his deal. This is just a rare scenario in general, but like,
so let me ask you this:
as you expect him
would
to-
you
as
sign
you
Patrick Kane if he performed the same as he did for New York last year?
Sure. If it was league minimum, if it was under $2 million this year, I think you probably especially under $1.5 million. I would do that. I think that makes sense. I think we overthink this in the moment. We're missing the forest for the trees. Like,
in terms of fit versus the actual player.
Yeah. Like, what are we saying? Like, who cares about fit? It'll work itself out. And if it doesn't, who cares? We scratch him. So
I don't know if it's that easy though. I mean, you just scratch Patrick Kane. I think it would take a lot to scratch Patrick Kane. That's the thing.
Yeah, I guess. But
right? It took
in Toronto,
14 games to scratch Ryan Reeves.
But we basically scratched John Klingberg and Ryan Reeves essentially. I know we said it was an injury, and it's so much easier to
14 games to scratch Ryan Reeves. Remember that.
It's so much
easier. The comment, oh, you just scratch him. But what if you scratch him too late?
It's easier to scratch Patrick Kane though when he's hurt, right? You can just say, oh, needs a maintenance day. Bang. Hasn't been feeling right with hip injury. Bang. That's it.
I don't know about that one. It works like
that. Next big rumor, I guess, on the board here was the
Zadorov. We buried the lead on that one.
Yeah.
But does Nikita Zadorov laid out Tyler Bertuzzi in the game against the Calgary versus Toronto on Friday, right? Nikita Zadorov's agent then posts that hit on his Instagram saying, oh, Nikita Zadorov coming through. Nikita Zadorov then right away requested a trade from the Calgary Flames. It's rumored that the Leafs want him.
Inject that. We talked about that last week. Inject that into my veins. Like, perfect fit for this team. Someone like I don't know if this is true, but did someone say like we want you here to him on like wasn't there like a rumor?
Rumors that apparently players on the team were saying to Zadorov during the game, "You're exactly what we need. We want you here." That is the weirdest comment ever. And if this team is actually doing that, they are not going to win anything. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I don't think they actually did that.
Yeah. That's like my mom's friend's brother's sister told me that they heard from a cousin in a coffee shop. Like,
if I heard a teammate say we want you here in like a competitive game, I would punch him straight in the face. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's just wild. That is wild. But yeah, I want him here. Maybe I was on the ice. Who knows?
Again, third pairing, sure, in the right role, but we have like 9 third pairing guys now, and we have 0 number 1 defensemen.
Yeah. Was he good on the penalty kill?
I don't even know.
He was not good on the. He's not going to
pretend. I'm not going to pretend to have done a deep dive.
I remember looking at his like he doesn't like basically just doesn't play penalty kill. I'm just trying to remember if I can. I'm just trying to look it up right now and buy time, but who knows? Anyways, regardless, having someone like that on the team will never hurt you. And I lied. He does play penalty kill. Oh no, never mind. That's not him. That's not him. This is him.
Does he or does he not?
He does. I'm wrong. Wow. He's like a decent penalty killer. We'll take that.
So we got to take a look into him. See what.
Well, okay, quickly. Like, according to Steve Dangle, he said that there's a deal done and it's gonna be happening after Sweden. What are your expectations of that happening? Give me a percentage that this time next week.
According to who? According to who?
Steve Dangle.
Who?
Steve Dangle.
I'll believe it when I see it.
All right, sounds good. Percentage chance that we trade for him before 30 games, or he gets traded, not just we trade for him 30 games into the season.
Oh, I think pretty high, 70.
He's
come out. He said those comments. Seems like he hates everything there. Everyone hates the Flames. Everyone hates Calgary. Everyone hates their windshields getting chipped by the damn gravel there.
And then
crazy downfall. Like from a team that had so much promise to like when they lost to Edmonton in the second round, I thought that team was fantastic. I thought for sure they were going to beat the Oilers that series. And then they got like Markstrom forgot how to stop a puck. And then last year was just complete chaos. And then this has been a tailspin to say the least.
Yeah, and then finally, my last question for you: mock trade. What would it look like? Are we giving a first?
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah.
For just Zadorov.
Yeah, sorry, just Zadorov.
I keep hearing Tanev squished in there as
Oh, if
well.
Tanev squished in there, I'll give you like a lot of stuff. I'll give you all the stuff.
All the stuff.
Obviously not all the stuff, but like
Tanev's a good player. Tanev's a very good.
Tanev's
Tanev
really
is what
good
you
player.
need.
Tanev
I don't care about
is
Zadorov,
exactly
to be
yeah.
honest.
Like Zadorov is like
just big and murders people once in a while. Chris Tanev is what this team needs.
getting both of them would be insane, but
Then you got to move certain guys out. But yes, you're correct. What would a trade look like for just Nikita Zadorov?
Like
maybe
a
little bit
prospect
more than a third.
and a third, yeah. Like
No,
when I say prospect, I mean like Abruzzese, like someone who like will not make our team
AHL
ever.
Player of the Week. Don't disrespect the
AHL
Harvard
Player of the Week?
AHL Player of the Week.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that maybe. Yeah,
love it.
Third,
Love
maybe a third and a couple of crumbs. I mean, it costed Luke Shen last year was a third, right?
Yeah.
So
I think Zadorov made the same amount as Luke Shen last year. Around the same. Oh no, Zadorov makes a lot. 375. Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's a hefty amount. Holy smokes. All right. Well, I would take him for I think a third and like a AHL player who can take reps in the NHL is a fair trade.
Yeah.
I think Calgary fans might not agree. But
hey, the Coronado to Abruzzese connection.
Connection.
That's what it was in the Harvard days.
So the Harvard boys.
Maybe it's back, but Abruzzese has been great this year. He's a really good passer. But
perfect.
Yeah. Anyways, that's the Nikita Zadorov comments. What else do we have on the docket?
That's it.
That's all we got. So
all we got.
To summarize, this week felt a little bit better. It got a little bit better. I mean, 2 Canadian wins is always nice on home ice. Now you got the Sweden trip through the first 15. It's been a little bit more chaotic. Team needs to play a lot better, especially defensively. And Nikita Zadorov apparently wants to come to Toronto. Guy loves Canada. So anyways, thanks everyone for listening.
Go